Each February, there's a gathering. Hosted by the Celtic Arts Foundation in Washington State, many of the world's most accomplished and award-winning Scottish pipers and drummers assemble for the acclaimed Masters of Scottish Arts concert in Seattle. Joined by several traditional musical luminaries from the Scottish and Cape Breton scenes, the Celtic Arts Winter School attracts students from around North America for the chance to study with these master musicians. In February of 2019, a long-hoped-for recording project became a reality thanks to the generous philanthropic support of Mr. Ed Littlefield. Recorded at his Sage studio in Arlington, Washington, over the course of a cold and at times snowy weekend, these amazing musicians put down wonderful track after wonderful track of Scottish and Cape Breton music. The results are a one-of-a-kind recording project, created by masters who inspire us by sharing their immense talents and passion for this music and culture. This video offers a behind-the-scenes look at the recording project, the studio, and the wonderful people who make up the Masters of Scottish Arts.
Rock the wind in the clear day's dawning, blaws the clouds heelster gaudy o'er the bay. But there's mair nor a rock wind blowing through the great glen o' the world today. It's a thought that would gather rotten all the rogues that can gather fresh and gay. Take the road and seek other lonings, for the real ploys to sport and play. Nay mair will her bonny callans merch they war when her braggarts cruisely crawl. Nor we winds fae petite and clachin, mourn the ships sailing to the broomy wall. Broken families and lands we've herried, will curse Scotland the brave, nae mair, nae mair. Black and white, yen to leather merried, mac the vile barracks o' their meesters bear. So come all ye at him with freedom, never heed what the hoodies croak for doom. In your house all the bairns o' Adam will find green barley being painted room. When MacLean meets with his friends in Springburn, all their roses and geens will turn to bloom, and the black boy beyond Niagara rings the fell gallows o' the burghers through.
It was a piece of wood falling off the wall, but it was fine because my vocals are out by then.
Oh,
so.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, I can work with that. That's good. Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna sound big.
It's an interesting kettle of fish, these things. Huh? All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so whenever the pipe guys are ready, we can do it together, and then we
All
should
right.
be ready to roll. Yeah.
All right. I assume they're. I don't know.
Mingling.
Pipe guys ready? No.
Okay, so here we have a typical set of bagpipes. These are quite an elaborate set in the fact that we have a bag, which comes in many forms. You have sheepskin, you can have hide. We actually have hybrid bags now, where you can get access to the inside. It consists of 3 drones, a bass, and 2 tenors, a blowpipe, and the bagpipe chanter, where all the music is produced. The drones harmonise the music in the background, and it sounds like an organ when everything's functioning properly. It's a 4-reed instrument. We have a small chanter reed which produces a phenomenal sound out of the chanter. The bagpipe chanter is 1 octave. It's 8 notes plus 1, but basically 1 octave. And when you consider the amount of fine music that's produced out of 1 octave, you'd be very, very surprised. There's thousands of tunes being composed using 1 octave.
Yeah, so what happens is because of the humidity and the heat of the breath, it really tends to change the instrument quite significantly. So they'll play for a bit to kind of get to the place where it settles in, and then at that point, it's time to go for it. It's not unusual for a pipe band, play for like an hour up until the point where they're ready to compete in a performance kind of situation. So they're really unforgiving that way, and it's amazing. Moisture acclimation is an ongoing thing.
Okay. Let's go for a take then.
I'm rolling in here. Take one.
Okay.
My name is Mike Cole, and I'm the bass drummer with this incredible group. I've been associated with the Celtic Arts Foundation, this particular school, since 2007. And it's every year, it's an honor just playing with the level of talent that's here. It's an experience. I look forward to it every year.
My name's Tyler Fry, and I'm a pipe band tenor drummer, and I've been involved in the Winter School and Masters of the Scottish Arts concert since 1998. there was a whole series of emails that went out. And keep in mind that the geography is vast between me. I'm Canadian, but I live in America. We've got all the group of Scottish guys. We got a whole group of Canadians. So there was a ton of digital communications that took place prior. And we essentially began learning the music kind of behind the scenes. And then when we showed up a week ago, it was our first opportunity to actually rehearse together with all of our various instruments. So it was a massive undertaking trying to put this whole thing together. But I think the final product has been well worth it. At least I hope it has.
My name is William McCallum. I come from Campbelltown in Argyllshire, Scotland. I'm a Highland bagpipe player. I've been playing for quite a long time now. I started learning when I was about 8.5. I come from a long line of Highland pipers, going back way back to the 1700s, and pipers at that time, champion pipers. It's quite hard work sometimes as a group. There's a couple of reasons, but I think because we're all highly competitive with ourselves, we want to get everything totally perfect. And then as a group coming together with that attitude, the result is better, but the process can be harder because we're so into the minor details, which actually make the difference.
We're familiar with the tunes before we get here, and then once we get here, we start working out the details. And it's amazing how it all comes together in a relatively short period of time. It's hard to explain, but it just happens.
Well, my name is Ross Martin. I come from the Highlands of Scotland, up near the Isle of Skye. Where I come from, any live music is like Scottish music or traditional music. And all the stuff in schools was music. So I wanted to play the guitar because I liked rock music. But the only people I could play with were like folk musicians, bagpipers and stuff like that. So if you want to do gigs, you play folk music. Otherwise you just stay in your bedroom, rock out on the guitar. So I go into the primary schools around my village and teach them little Gaelic songs and the tin whistle and stuff like that, and dancing. So it's a big part of it. It's an important part of what we do, is to teach it to the next generation. Try and teach yourself out of a job is really the ultimate goal.
So I'm Gary West. I live in Edinburgh, but I'm from Perthshire, a bit further north. I've been coming out to the Celtic Arts Foundation events for I think 8 or 9 years now, and love them. They're fantastic. So I play Scottish small pipes. I suppose that's my main instrument, which are bellows blown rather than mouth blown. And they're quieter, more of an indoor instrument, I suppose, and you can play with fiddles and so on. So the relative loudness is much the same. So they're more sociable from that point of view for playing in sessions and so on. And I play a bit of whistle and I sing. I teach in a department called Celtic and Scottish Studies. So we teach culture, history, ethnology, that kind of thing. So it's pretty full on. I run a research centre and do a lot of teaching, and so it's a kind of full on day job. And then I do a radio broadcast every week on the BBC on piping. It's called Pipeline. So it's all things bagpipes. Kept fairly busy with all of these different hats on. Yes.
So my name is Wendy McIsaac. I'm from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. So I grew up playing the Cape Breton style of fiddling. I believe my first year teaching at the school was 5 years ago. And I've been here teaching 3 times, and then this year for the concert and the recording. So great to be a part of it. We've learned from these older fiddle players who did all these things like through, recordings from dances. People would show up at dances and put a recorder on the stage and just tape the whole dance, or parties and things like that. But nowadays, a lot of younger players are learning from our albums that are produced in a studio. So, things are, kind of tightened up a bit. But sometimes you just get this different thing from learning from like a house party where people are just really relaxed and, you might make a mistake, but then you kind of fix it by making this mistake sort of a part of something that people want to play.
My name is Ed Littlefield, and I live out on a farm an hour's drive north of Seattle on the Stillaguamish River. And when we bought it, it was mostly unimproved wilderness. And we built a house and a barn, and things grew, and finally we had all kinds of buildings on the farm, variety of things. And in '84, I started to build a recording studio. I was on the faculty of the Sweets Mill Folk Music Camp in the late '60s, and Bill Shepard, the chap, came up and he played his grandfather's bagpipes, and I was blown away. We hiked up to this little ridge, and it was this beautiful sunset, and Bill played a whole bunch of tunes. The only one whose name I can instantly remember was he played Mrs. McLeod of Rassie, McLeod's Reel. And I knew that tune, and I said, I am going to learn how to do that one of these days. I'd studied medieval Celtic literature at Stanford, and I was already into playing, Irish tunes and some Scots tunes at that time on the fiddle and the mandolin and the guitar. Bill came to work for me, helped build the farm. He was one of our hippies that helped us do this. And I said, Bill, you go bring your bagpipes out and play. So we'd do that. And he said, Bill, you got to show me how to do some of this. And so he got me a practice chanter and the tutor and showed me the basic notes, the basic fingering. And then I just tried to teach myself. I'd first met Sky Rickendorfer when he was the mayor of Mount Vernon. We were working on restoring the Lincoln Theater. He had been the mayor, and I knew he was a piper and whatever, and ended up being the director of the Celtic Arts Foundation. He's just been absolutely brilliant, and I cannot fault him in any way. I just think he's done a fantastic job, and I've been very happy throwing money at this project, and I think we've gotten a lot back for our investment. And I'm delighted that the musicians like the sound and are eager to play there again. I just love to sponsor community support for worthy projects, and especially when they involve people playing music socially.
Well, first of all, I have to say that the place is absolutely wonderful. I've never been in a recording studio as marvellous as this. It really, truly is amazing. It's a work of art.
This studio, my gosh, man, like Sky told us about this place, and I said to him, you were not remotely exaggerating. This place is unreal.
But I came in here with no expectations, just like, oh yeah, we're going in the studio and blah, blah. And we walked in and it was just like, oh, kind of, you just get speechless, you know, seeing a room like that. And I mean, it's one of the nicest places I've ever been, I think. So that will put you in a good mood.
That feel a better run than the previous one.
Much more musical, for sure. Rhythmically and musically, I think.
I'm Katie McNally. I play Scottish and Cape Breton fiddle, and I've been teaching at the Celtic Arts Foundation Winter School for about 5 years now. I'm really honored to be part of this project and playing alongside some of my heroes. And, you know, as an American, it's a huge honor to be playing alongside these Canadians and these Scottish folks playing their music. It's a real treat.
Andrea Beaton is my name, and I'm a fiddle player, and I also step dance and play some piano, and I come from a musical family. My dad plays fiddle left-handed, upside down and backwards. My mom is a piano player. My dad's father was a fiddler, and his father was a fiddler and a piper, and his father was a piper, and it goes back and back to Scotland. And my mom, similar kind of story, and her brother was Buddy McMaster, who was a pretty well-known Cape Breton fiddler. While the pipers are doing their thing, we'll just get together in a room and put it all together, and that tends to change. Even yesterday when we were recording, we decided to change something in the booth. Like, it's a little more flexible because, I don't know, it's easy. I mean, there's 4 fiddles, so it's like we have little parts and we can kind of shift things a little bit. We're very proud. Cape Bretoners tend to think of Cape Breton as its own country. We're very protective of our tradition. It was an isolated island for many years, so the tradition didn't change a lot at one time. So we got really, it evolved, but it's evolved kind of slowly. And so we're very we just really want to preserve that kind of authentic Cape Breton sound.
Let's get Troy to give us an intro. Sure. You want to? Do you feel like it? Yeah, perfect.
You know, Troy and Wendy and Andrea are just 3 of my favorite fiddle players in the whole world, so it's great to be playing with them. It's kind of crazy because we're all coming from different corners of North America and Scotland, so it's a lot over email, kind of sending each other snippets of tunes back and forth and trying things out, and a lot of it came together really in the past couple days. It's just such a dense moment of creativity that's really fun and really special.
It's a lot of cramming when we got here. We really, you know, it's something that we do. We play with loads of different musicians, so sometimes you just have to kind of wing it at the time, and sometimes it comes off as great, and sometimes it comes off as fantastic, you know what I mean? So that's what we're hoping today. Growing up in Cape Breton, especially in the area that I grew up in, it was very concentrated with a lot of Scottish immigrants from the mid to late 1700s and early 1800s. And there was just, growing up for me, there was always music and almost always fiddle music, quite often bagpipes as well. Dancing, step dancing in Gaelic language and singing. Growing up in Cape Breton, really you have a big part of our social lives were either going to concerts where there would be loads of fiddle players playing and step dancing and all this I was talking about. And also we had radio programs with full hours of fiddle music that were always on at the time. It was almost always 6 o'clock in the evening, so you'd have your supper and then everybody listened to the program. So a lot of the music, I think, was just kind of ingrained in us, you know, by going to these dances and to these concerts and having it played in the house, and it was just a thing. So it came, I suppose, easier than it would for someone who wasn't immersed into the culture like we were.
Jump fanfare, take one.
It's called pipe band tenor drumming, and the art of swinging the sticks around is actually called flourishing. And the first documented pipe band tenor drummer was in the British Army in around 1908, and it became very common by the 1920s, so right after the Great War, to have a bass drummer in a band, so that's the big drum. That's what you'll see Mike Cole doing throughout this production, to be anchored with possibly 2 tenor drummers. And during those early days, a lot of it was about time and keeping a beat for the ensemble. But better yet, even the bass drummers at the time, they began flourishing or twirling or swinging sticks around as well. And this was, it became part of the pipe band tradition. And in fact, to the point where often, you know, when you look at it from the 1920s, maybe through all the way into the 70s, the tenor drum was deemed this instrument that was to be seen and not heard throughout the British Army in particular. And it wasn't really until the 70s that we even started experimenting with truly this other rhythmical function of the instrument that allowed us to highlight, you know, sort of key areas in the melody and the snare drumming. So the flourishing or the twirling of the sticks, whatever word you want to use, it's a way of creating a visual interpretation of what's going on audibly in the ensemble. And it's without a doubt a part of the pipe band tradition. And for me, it's what makes pipe band tenor drumming so much fun and so exciting and vibrant and energetic.
My name is Blair Brown, and I'm a snare drumming teacher. And this is my 13th year at the Celtic Arts Foundation Winter School. I have a twin brother and an older brother, and my mom was a bagpiper. She was the first female to play at the highest level. She played in Shots and Dykehead, which is a very famous band in Scotland in the 70s. And so bit of a trailblazer, groundbreaker. And so when we were being raised, we all kind of dabbled playing pipes and drums. And then at about 8-ish, it was kind of, I'm not going to hire a babysitter, so you need to pick an instrument and stick with it. And so older brother started on drums. Glenn, my twin brother, was a bass drummer. He was the bass drummer in our band, and I started on snare. An event like this, we typically end up playing busker drum scores, which, you know, you can play with a few people and it is pretty tight and it goes pretty well, but it's not the most exciting stuff to play. So this year, knowing that we were doing this project, knowing that we were doing a recording and wanted to get ahead of the game, and so Stephen McWhirter and I just wrote a bunch of drum scores so that we could actually play fun, interesting, but well-fitting, well-suited material. It's been really fun to actually have a well set out plan so that we could put a little bit of our own drum score into the mix. I want you to ask Tyler Fry why he brought 9 pairs of shoes with him on an 8-day trip.
You don't have to always just sound the part, you got to look the part as well. So I just want to make sure, you know, for every camera angle, whatever, I had a new set of shoes on. And that was certainly a priority. That's funny.
I'm Murray Henderson and I play the bagpipes. I'm a New Zealander, moved from New Zealand to Scotland in 1973, intending to stay in Scotland for 2 years to further my piping knowledge, and all these years later, I'm still living in Scotland. I started playing bagpipes probably because my father played the pipes, and growing up in rural New Zealand, I thought it was just something that if your father does it, well then that's a cool thing to do. I was probably about 4 or 5 when I first started. My eldest sister was learning the chanter at that time, and she would go off to school and I would tootle on her practice chanter. I still remember getting into trouble when she would come home from school and her practice chanter was soaked with someone been playing it, and she would ask me and I would always deny that I had, but of course she knew that I had. I'm a progressive traditionalist, if I'm allowed to say that, because the way that we present the Piruk is in a very traditional style. Usually when a group play music, they conform to a reasonably strict rhythm so that it makes it easy for all the players to keep it nice and tight. And what we do with the Piruk, the pipers allow me the luxury of playing the piece how I would play it, and they simply look to follow me.
So my name's Roddy MacLeod, and I'm from Glasgow in Scotland, and I've been connected to the project really from the very beginning, from the very first year when it started. And it's just been fantastic to sort of see how it's grown and developed through the years and come to what it is today under the Celtic Arts Foundation. I started playing the pipes when I was very young. My parents come from the Western Isles in Scotland, and bagpipes and Highland music was very much part of our household. And so my father was very keen on the bagpipes, and before I started to learn, I have 2 older brothers who he got involved in learning the pipes, and from about the age of 5 years old I would go along to their lessons and sort of sit there watching them being taught and then try and mimic it when we got home. And it was probably when I was about 10 years old that I really started to go for proper lessons on the pipes, and ever since then it's just been a huge part of my life. Since the beginning, the vision of the winter school has been to improve the standard of piping and drumming in the United States, and really I think the philosophy from the word go has been always to get the best possible people to come here, people who have excelled in their field in piping and drumming, and it's really been a philosophy that stood the school in great stead over the years, because it seems to have just grown and grown into possibly the biggest school I can think of anywhere, and I teach at many of them. And one of the most rewarding things actually is to see such a high percentage of returning students come. One of the things that has been a great honour for me in all of this project is being in the position of tuning the group of pipers and effectively being the sort of pipe major, if you want, of the group. You know, they're such a talented group, and you know, every one of them has got every accolade that you could imagine in piping. And while it's pressure on me to sort of work within that environment, it's really something that I'll remember for the rest of my life, that they've entrusted me to do that.
Name's Angus McCall. Come from a wee village, Benderloch, just outside Oban, west of Scotland. And I've been playing pipe since around the age of 8. Started off, my father taught me to play. My great-granduncle was John McCall, and he was famous in his day as a piper and a composer, mainly for composing good old-fashioned heavy type 2/4 marches. He's well renowned for that, but he was one of the famous players in his day. He was about 100 years before my time. I think we have a big responsibility to keep the music going and keep the old traditions. I teach piping in the schools in the Oban area, so I have there's a lot of young kids that are playing, and I think it's great to see, you know, these young ones learning the stuff that we learnt from our, you know, teachers, and to see them coming on and becoming friends. You know, I see kids that are, you know, from different ages all getting together and playing tunes and having fun and stuff, and it's a great feeling. So I think it's really important to pass that on to the young ones.
It's been absolutely fantastic. It's quite an honour and a privilege to be able to be part of such a wonderful group. Yeah, they really are the best at what they do, so it's to be able to be part of that. And I guess I'm the youngest, so for me it's great to see some of the older generation of such are being able to participate alongside them. William McCallum's now my teacher, and I've been getting lessons off him over the last 10, 15 years now, so to be able to stand and do some recordings with him over the last couple of days has been absolutely phenomenal for me. It's a great experience and a memory I'll never forget. Very happy with what we've managed to achieve over the last couple of days. I feel like it's been really, really good, and I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure everyone will be appreciative of it. It's got a wide variety of genres in terms of what we do, so I think it's got to hopefully captures a large audience.
I hope we put out a product that people are going to like, something that people will sit back and enjoy. Maybe the people who went to the concert or weren't able to make the concert can have a listen and see, oh, really enjoy it, and maybe come to the school. But I would just like a recording that people enjoy listening to. I mean, that's, what else is there? We're just putting out a body of work, something that'll live on for a while.
And this is an experience that will stay with me for the rest of my life. It's just been tremendous to come to such a facility and make music with really good friends, and we get a chance to come and make music together. But this recording studio and the whole relaxed atmosphere is just the best, one of the best experiences of my life.